Hello everyone, a very good afternoon to all of you and welcome to the session. Let me know if I am properly audible and visible to all. So those watching me for the first time, I'm your faculty of English, Niharika John, and we have regular sessions here. Okay, so the schedule is something like this. We have classes on Monday, on Wednesdays and Fridays here to practice sessions of PM period. Today we have RC and we have para jumbles. So comprehension based topics are there. And then we have our sessions which are daily, Monday to Saturday, 8 p.m. These are editorial sessions, very, very, very important ones. And I can't tell you how much you need to go through editorials with respect to content building in your mind. You need to have some content for your essays and all, then for language familiarization, for grammar, for vocabs, every single thing is covered in editorial. So 8 p.m. we meet here, 8 p.m. and that's the time of our editorial session. Okay, we are going to start now with our um, so we are going to start now with a PJ. Now parajumble is something which is very crucial. Again, sahi kara to ek saath you will get a good score of 5 marks, 6 marks maybe, and that's why you do the whole parajumble correct. It's not only of doing like one pair correct या first correct कर लिया चलेगा. If you are able to crack a parajumble, it's a game changer आपके score के लिए. तो पैराजंबल से दो चीजें ध्यान में रखना. स्ट्रैटेजी मेक पेयर, पेयर बनाकर करना बहुत जरूरी है. एंड देन द सेकेंड थिंग इज दैट यू फॉलो इन्वर्टेड पिरामिड रूल, दैट इज you narrow down to the points which are specific from general points. Okay, I'll give you 3.5 minutes. This is your first question. जल्दी से like और share कर दो, subscribe the channel as well, and then you can start doing this. Answer is RSPQ. RSPQ. Very good, Pavitra. So this is it starts with maybe. Maybe it involved spending the evening in the dark without anything to do. See, it क्या हो सकता है? And there is a speculation because it says maybe it involved spending the evening in the dark without anything to do or spending a hot day without air conditioning. You says your power probably came back within a couple minutes or hours, but for nearly 1 billion people around the world who don't have access to electricity, an outage is power cut that can go for days or even weeks. Think back. This is starting with a word. That means probably this could be the first sentence where author is directly aiming something at us. So it's like you people think back like that. Okay, so think back the last time you experienced a power outage. So definitely R has to be the first one. It probably was not a great memory. So yes, S भी आपका second हो जाता है यहाँ पे because power outage को बोला है कि सोचो and that's what think back is not a great memory. If the power was out for a long time, maybe even the food in your fridge began to spoil. Okay, maybe it involved the evening in dark. So it involved if the power was out. So you have a pair P&T where some speculations are being made what could have happened, general things that people face जो हम जब इलेक्ट्रिसिटी नहीं होती है तो क्या क्या होता है एयर कंडीशनिंग नहीं थी अंधेरा था फ्रिज में खाना खराब हो गया so all these things make P&T speculations appear and later at the end आपके यहाँ का पावर तो आ गया बट थिंक अबाउट 1 बिलियन पीपल जिनके पास इलेक्ट्रिसिटी है ही नहीं तो क्यों गिव्स अ कंक्लूजन क्यों सोचने के लिए बोल रहा है ऑथर हमको इतना एंड दैट्स व्हाई दिस इज द अरेंजमेंट ओके आई होप इट्स क्लियर प्लीज मूव ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट वन arrange all the 5 sentences Same. Acha, no, not same. Slightly different. Anyone else? The firm reported that fewer hours at work resulted in the firm, and इससे कुछ already करा होगा because the reported thing is like a result of something. So whatever it is, as many as 2,300 employees were given 5 consecutive Fridays off in addition to the usual Saturday Sunday weekend. This is something that just took place, but in context of what we want, हमको और information चाहिए. We want more info. The dramatic results of a trial conducted by Microsoft have strengthened the case for a 4-day work week. So now we get to see there was a trial. Introduction, results of a trial ने तो यहाँ पे strengthen किया, but there was a trial. Who conducted it? So R is giving you the intro of the whole other things mentioned here. The software major used its Japanese operations for an experiment. Here experiment starts. It's a logical flow. तो ऐसा आ जाएगा बाद में. Under a project called Work Life Choice Challenge. According to Microsoft, these gains is a very big clue, could partly be attributed to meetings being capped at 30 minutes and the heightened use of remote conferences. So, where do you get to see some good things? See, the firm reported this fewer hours at work resulted in nearly 40% jump in the productivity. So 40% jump over the same period of the previous year. So definitely P and T will come together. P talks about some benefits and T explains that. Now Q talks about what exactly happened. We are narrowing down. So R says some kind of experiment happened. S also talks about some experiment happened, but उस experiment के अंदर हुआ क्या? वो जो mention है that is mentioned in Q. So R S Q are a trio. They will all come together. Okay, and definitely P or T बाद में आ जाएंगे. So I hope this is clear as well. Now we will do RC. RC again is it's in two parts as always. We do lengthy RCs for exam purpose. तो पहले सारे questions हम back to back कर लेंगे and then you will get explanation of each question. Okay, I will toggle between the slides for you people. मैं आपको दोनों slides दिखाती रहूँगी. This is second, this is the first one. ठीक है, हमेशा की तरह करना शुरू कर दो. Don't read it thoroughly. Skim it only for the requirement of understanding the questions, and then later on you can come back to the portion. Your mind will remind you कि यहाँ पर उसके बारे में. Second part. सारे साथ में कर रहे हैं हम बैक टू बैक. To read everything, okay? I mean, very good if you know the answer. I will be happy to see people getting it right. But why you want to miss out on the second part? Answer is D. Ah, see, think through. For you answer, think through. Okay. ये तो 2 seconds, not literally 10 seconds आंसर। आंसर इज डेकोरेट, अडॉर्न करना, डेकोरेट करना, सजाना, right? So whenever you have a vocabulary based question in exam, you first do those questions. अब थोड़ा सा जल्दी से चेक कर लो कितने क्वेश्चन है, 5 6 7 8, एंड जो भी ऐसे क्वेश्चन है idiom meaning, phrase meaning और antonym synonym, then you do those questions first ताकि आप फ्री हो जाओगे, एटलीस्ट टाइम नहीं बचा just in case, so your these questions are not left because these are very simple questions. Now as per the passage, why did sea otter become extinct in 20th century? तो पहले extinct हुए और उसके बाद में they exploded, है ना, यही स्टोरी थी। तो let's read first, skimming करके अपने दिमाग में रखो। Trappers and traders in these centuries prized sea otters for their thick fur, for their fur। अब कैसा भी हो वो इतना मैटर नहीं करता। In 1890, a newspaper reported Russian noblemen who sought to adorn their overcoats with otter pelts. And so the sea otter, once common from the Baja coast to the Baja coast to the northern shores of Japan, was nearly hunted to extinction. So hunting for their thick waterproof fur, है ना, adorn करने के लिए। बहुत क्लियरली आपके फर्स्ट पैरा में आंसर है, 20 आंसर। थोड़ा सा और पढ़ते हैं, बिकॉज द फर्स्ट टाइम व्हेन यू सी एन आरसी आप उसको एक रफ रीडिंग देते हो, स्किम करते हो। So over the past 100 years, thanks to conservation efforts, sea otters have now recovered across much of their historical range, but they haven't been always welcome back. The problem is that sea otters compete with people for shellfish and urchins that moved in when the otter population were depleted. अभी एक कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हो रहा है that has provoked debate about balancing the need for protection for otters with the economic impact of their presence in the coastal waters। इसके ऊपर लेके उनके एग्जिस्टेंस के ऊपर एंड उनको जो नीड है ग्रो करने के लिए, उसको लेकर काफ़ी चीज़ें हैं। A study finds that in economic terms, otters' effect on their ecosystem far outweigh the costs of commercial shellfish fisheries with which they compete for tasty clams and crabs। तो ये सब जो फिशरी क्रैब्स क्लैम्स वगैरह के लिए जितना पैसा लगता है एंड ऑल, इट कॉस्ट, इट द कॉस्ट आउटवेज हियर द कॉस्ट ऑफ मेकिंग श्योर दैट ऑटर्स आर प्रोटेक्टेड एंड दे ग्रो। So in the few years, after otters were hunted to extinction, now a top predator was gone। क्या हुआ? प्रीडेटर जो हंट करता है। Shellfish and sea urchins exploded क्योंकि खाने वाला नहीं है उनको, तो यहाँ पे exploded in numbers। In addition, commercial fisheries that form to harvest the lucrative animals, etc., many of them indigenous, increasingly relied on the other one, है ना, इनको बचाना है। अब मैन इनको हंट कर लेगा तो फिर वो क्या, ऑटर्स क्या खाएंगे, है ना। So the spread of these invertebrates, particularly urchins which feed on seaweed, came at a cost of kelp forest का दाम चुकाना पड़ा हमको, है ना, and that's what happened। अब हम सेकेंड क्वेश्चन करेंगे तो आगे का मैं आपके लिए रीड करूंगी, ओके, बट आई होप यू अंडरस्टैंड द कॉन्टेक्स्ट। एक्सटेंड हुए, फिर उनको बचाने के लिए क्या क्या हमारे को कीमत चुकानी पड़ी, दैट्स व्हाट एक्चुअली इज बीइंग। Second question was, as per the passage, why was the recovery of the sea otter population not welcomed by coastal inhabitants? Much of it we have already read, but pura hum answer, whenever we answer, we have to consider everything from top to bottom. You cannot just read half of it and see कि यहाँ पे क्या है ना। Sea otters offered competition to shellfish fisheries for clams and crabs, that is what is mentioned earlier, जो थोड़ी देर पहले हमने पढ़ा सेकेंड पैराग्राफ में। I will also tell you a trick। हमेशा ऐसा हो ज़रूरी नहीं है, बट मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम, जैसे आपका फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन हुआ तो इट विल बी समवेयर फ्रॉम हियर, फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन। सेकेंड क्वेश्चन अगर ऐसा वाला है वेयर यू नो यू हैव सिंगल लाइन, है समवेयर फ्रॉम हियर। थर्ड क्वेश्चन समवेयर फ्रॉम द लेटर। तो ऐसे क्वेश्चन बिल्ड होते हैं, यू नो, एज यू गो, एज यू प्रोसीड थ्रू, आगे जाओगे वैसे वैसे क्वेश्चंस बनते जाते हैं, आंसर पूछा जाता है। इट्स हार्डली अ mashup of first question is from the beginning, second is एकदम आखिरी से, third is from between. थोड़ा कम होता है ऐसा. I mean, if it helps, it can be taken advantage. अगला क्वेश्चन. हाँ, as per the passage, what advantages do kelp forest have for the environment? So now the question is focused on the kelp forest. Kelp forest के बारे में जहाँ पर डिटेल है, we will focus only there. Let's continue reading. 2 पैराज और हैं, यहाँ पे kelp के बारे में है. So it says kelp forest help in preventing coastal erosion. Kelp forest store carbon. Kelp forest provide nutrition and habitat. क्या बोला है? As otter populations recovered, these changes worked in reverse. As the otters doings as a top predator flow down through the ecosystem. Otters eat up to 30% of their body weight when they prey on lots of shellfish and urchins. Kelp forest can regrow and give salmon and rockfish and others a place to stay. Okay? तो यहाँ पे हैबिटाट बन सकते हैं. दे प्रोवाइड न्यूट्रिशन एंड हैबिटाट टू अदर स्पीशीज. तो थर्ड वाला पॉइंट तो आपका पक्के से यहाँ पे कवर हो गया. But the competition for shellfish between otters and people creates tension. Sometimes illegal culling. Culling means killing of fish or poultry. Problems tend to arise anytime a predator recovers near where people live. But while the predator's tendency to eat commercially valuable fauna is quantifiable, some of the benefits go unquantified and are left out of discussion. तो थोड़ा सा एक्सटेंशन की बात है. नाउ kelp forest के बारे में थोड़ा सा हमें यहाँ पर भी मिलता है in the first earlier part. So came out at a cost of kelp forest which provide nutrition and habitat to diverse population. तो कार्बन एंड कार्बन वाला एंड स्टोर कार्बन टू. सो ये दोनों पॉइंट आपके यहीं से मिल जाते हैं. आंसर सेकंड एंड थर्ड है. फ्लड्स वाला पार्ट, हाई टाइड्स इज नॉट मेंशन्ड हियर. तो फर्स्ट कैसे आप लोग ऑल बोले थे, आंसर आए, थोड़ा सा डाउट. Which of the following were a consequence of decline in sea otter population? एक्सप्लोजन इन पॉपुलेशन ऑफ शेलफिश, एकदम से ये बढ़ गया था. यस, अ कॉन्सिक्वेंस था. द राइज इन नंबर ऑफ कमर्शियल फिशरी, तभी तो फिर वापस से जब ऑटर्स आए तो इनको प्रॉब्लम हुई. द डिस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ kelp फॉरेस्ट, क्लियरली kelp फॉरेस्ट जो था यहाँ पे केम एट अ कॉस्ट ऑफ kelp फॉरेस्ट. तीनों तो सामने थे आपके इसके आंसर. It can be understood in the passage that an increase in sea otter population could have which of the following consequences? Increase in salmon population. Now salmon के बारे में later on आपको mention करा गया है. And I mean, if you want me to explain, I can go through like line by line आपको explain कर सकती हूँ. But till now we have read कौन कौन से थे जो नहीं खाए जा रहे थे. Shellfish and urchins तो they were being hunted by otters. Right, then we get to see यहाँ पे और competition आ चुका था. Then later on we get to see how monetary value से कौन सी चीज़ें hunt हो रही थी, कौन सी नहीं हो रही थी. All these things salmon के बारे में बीच में भी mentioned है. To increase in salmon population, what happened? Which of the following measures is suggested by the author? Author ने क्या suggest किया? To protect the interests of indigenous population with regard to rise in population. To allow hunting of otters near the most productive beaches. Now, what we can see here, most of the time authors के suggestion last में मिलेंगे. So अगर हम last पढ़ते हैं, the inability of monetary value to describe the entire otter situation is particularly evident. Indigenous people are likely to bear some of the highest costs and benefits. According to the record, something happened. An economic assessment can be an important dimension to management, but solutions that benefit everyone should involve indigenous knowledge, possible traditional methods, allowing them to be hunted. Simple, सीधा answer. जल्दी से we will try to cover one more, okay? थोड़ा सा फास्ट करने की कोशिश करना है इसे. So there you go. थोड़ा छोटा भी है ये, but again it is in two parts. start reading. We will do all questions back to back. at least. So, there are a few more questions, but I need to explain this to you before we end the session. So, you can definitely go through one or two more questions later on. Now, this one was a shorter one, but it relates to our education. And for this, let's give it a quick read. एक rough reading पहले देते हैं. Once again, exemplifying the lackluster quality means dull quality of education in country. No Indian university has featured in the top 300 in the latest rankings. In fact, Indian higher education appears to have receded with the highest ranked varsity falling from 251 300 bracket. उससे भी हम निकल गए हैं. It's a negative tone here. Although the total number of Indian entries went up, total number of entries went up. Only 6 universities made it through 300 to 500 rankings. So quality यहाँ पे issue है. In contrast, China has 7 of its universities in the top 200. This is the result of China's focused and sustained investment in education. Interestingly, despite being a communist regime, China realized the importance of quality education. So China की थोड़ी तारीफ करी है यहाँ पे. India, however, continues to view education through prism of patronage. अभी यहाँ पे इंडिया में कहाँ लैक है वो बता रहा है. This has enabled a highly bureaucratic setup that allows little autonomy to university. Universities के पास में changes करने के लिए reform लाने के लिए इतना authority नहीं है. Additionally, India's socialist streak has handicapped higher education through instruments जैसे कि reservation, deep suspicion of foreign investments, वो सब होने नहीं देते. तो वो भी हमारे लिए क्या है, एक negative. Until this tendency to micromanage is discarded, things will only go from bad to worse. Author बोल रहा है कि micromanaging से फायदा नहीं हो रहा है. For meritocracy to flourish, a shift has to be made from control to market oriented standards. मतलब आज के टाइम पे नीड क्या है. Government must know that it can mandate quality education institutes by fiat. It is unable to drop heavy regulation for political reasons. तो ये सब regulations को change करो. This will lead to competition among varsities and raise overall standards. Otherwise, lacking employable skills. Employable skills मतलब कि यहाँ पे वो स्किल्स जो एम्प्लॉयमेंट के लिए नेसेसरी हैं. India's demographic dividend is bound to turn into a demographic time bomb, a process that has already begun. तो क्या क्या फैक्ट्स है जो ट्रू हैं? सभी ट्रू हैं. Setting up special education zones will lead to competition among varsities and in turn lead to raising overall standards. Overall standards की बात just अभी हमने देखी. So there you go. The tendency to micromanage needs to be discarded. सीधा सीधा दिया हुआ है. Governments can't mandate quality of education institutes by fiat. Fiat आपके पास यहाँ पे एक कॉमन एक ऐसा वर्ड था जिसको सर्च करते सीधे आंसर आ जाता. तो तीनों पॉइंट्स आपके यहाँ पे मिल रहे हैं. Which of the following is not true with respect to China? Now, China is mentioned only in the second para. China has 7 and it is asking which is not true. So China has 7, this is true. China has focus, this is also true. China holds a communist regime, that is also true. So because all are true, answer आपका none of these हो जाता है ना? समझ में आया आपको? Now this was the question of except. Again, what all points are discussed in the passage except the third one. So lack of quality education ये discussed है, cannot be my answer. India's view of education through the prism of patronage starting में clearly दिया है, same words में दिया है, cannot be my answer. India's unwillingness to improve primary, ऐसा नहीं दिया ना कहीं भी कि इंडिया को willingness ही नहीं है. So answer only third one. Okay, I hope we are clear. Okay, hello. So time for us to end the session now. ठीक है. Lackluster quality वाला तो आंसर सीधा सीधा था. That is right in the first para. So I don't think इसको explain करने की है ना. So that's it. Thank you so much all of you. Do take care and I'll catch you at 8 p.m. now in our other session. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe.